Welcome back to the Go podcast, man. Episode 65, week 12 of the NFL season, man, right around the corner. This week, got a little segment of awards here. We're going to jump into that in a minute, and then obviously our pick'ems as well as our records throughout this year, man. So first things first, we got a little new award show, I would say, man. We each came up with 3 different awards, and then we're going to give, our take on who we think that player, team, coach, or whatnot goes for that award, man. So why don't you go ahead, get the ball rolling, man. Give us your first award.
All right. So the first one I came up with is QB Paradise or the Brady Bucks Award. Like, which team do you think so far this season, like, pretty much has everything in place, coach scheme, weapons, defense, everything, but they just don't have a quarterback? So, what's your team?
I mean, I think this one, I'm going to go the easy route here. Not going to lie, man. I'm going to go with the New York Jets. At defense, we know what they can do. Zach Wilson's still a starter for the rest of this season. A lot of controversy around that. Should Trevor Siemian start? I don't think that'd be a better option. I like sticking with Zach at that point, but if they could have a quarterback, man, Kirk Cousins was rumored at some point. Rodgers, if he comes back, will he still be a viable quarterback, man? But we said it earlier in the year, man. Sometimes all they need is a little game manager. At this point, I think they take that over Zach Wilson, who has played better, not great, but way better than what he did when he first started the season. He's given the Jets opportunities to win, but that defense has held up their part. Just looking for that offensive spark plug, and they're just missing that quarterback. They got the weapons, the running backs, the receivers, the O-line's decent. So, I mean, they're really just lacking that quarterback, someone that could elevate them into a Super Bowl contender.
Yeah, the Jets was like just the most obvious answer there. And it's basically kind of like what they did last year. Like, and that's why they brought in Rodgers. So it's just a repeat of last year,
Mm-hmm.
basically, all it is. All right, the second award I have is unsung hero. So like a player or coach that you think has made a really big impact this season, but it's kind of going like under the radar of the mainstream media or whatever.
I'm gonna go with Josh Dobbs, but at this point, I mean, he's not
Yeah.
really under mainstream anymore. We talked about it in Arizona,
Or
man.
yeah, you could just say Arizona Josh Dobbs, not Minnesota Josh Dobbs.
Yeah, because Minnesota Josh Dobbs getting the love
Yeah.
now. But I mean, he's basically been doing that same thing all season long. He had that one bad game where he kind of got benched. I think they knew he was out. They were willing to trade and move him. So they figured, why not get Clayton Tune some reps, see what we're working with for the next game, get him game ready. But Josh Dobbs, I mean, even in Arizona, he was competing them, keeping them in football games, man. He had them up some games. I know the running back room between, James Conner, who was the lead back at the time. He was doing a lot of the workload, but still Josh Dobbs, a guy who wasn't even on the Cardinals roster until late into the preseason when the Browns got rid of Josh Dobbs after the DTR emergence. Just because of that fact, man, new playbook, new system. I mean, he's been on a bunch of different teams, never really gotten a true opportunity until this season. And he's played well. And now you're seeing it in Minnesota. This guy doesn't even know where the locker room's at. And now he's being, the hero in Minnesota. And the Vikings are loving him. But I don't think he got enough love in Arizona for how bad that team is and have good quarterback play. You saw with Kyler Murray this week how good they could be with a great quarterback. But Kyler Murray's on a different level and different category than Josh Dobbs is at this point. So I'm gonna go with Josh Dobbs right now. Arizona Josh Dobbs, if you want to say.
Yeah, I just think, the roster difference is pretty much all that matters. Minnesota has a better roster right now than Arizona, so Dobbs does look a lot better. All right. And then the last one I got is turn the ship around. So a team that's below 500 or at 500 that you think could, finish above 500 with a winning record or, maybe make a playoff push or something.
Yeah, I had a few options for this one, man, but I felt like I had to go with the team in the NFC South just because that being the division, much easier chance to make the playoffs and everything. But I'm gonna go with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and they're gonna turn that pirate ship right
Okay.
around. I mean,
Let him bake.
Baker Mayfield, man, we know what he is at this point. He's a guy that can go out there compete, high energy level type guy. And you're seeing it right now in Tampa. He's going to win you some games. He's going to have some bad games, but he's been in the playoffs. He's won a playoff game on the road against a divisional opponent. So he has some experience under his belt. Fifth, sixth year in the league, I think, sixth year, seventh year, whatever it is. So he's a veteran presence in that locker room, a guy that, understands the game. He's got the weapons, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin. Those guys have been feasting, 1,000-yard Mike. He's continuing his historic career so far, trying to get that Hall of Fame, uh, which I think he should. But other than that, I mean, decent team around him. The weapons are really there for Baker Mayfield to do a job. And in the NFC South, you just got to win a few games right now. The Saints are competing for the top of that division. I mean, but other than that, it's really up for grabs. You got two teams at 4-5, and then you got the Panthers who are dead last in the NFL. So it's really up for grabs in the NFC South, and I think the Bucks, man, they go ahead and take that pirate ship on over, and they got a legit shot at the playoffs. So I'm gonna go with Tampa Bay for that one.
Yeah, that's just whoever wins that division will be hosting a playoff game at home. So that'd be interesting. Yeah, but those
Exactly,
are my
man.
three.
All right, man. So for mine, I got three. First one up, man. They can't. Excuse me. First one up. The Dang. First one up. Can't do wrong QB, man. So a quarterback that no matter they win, they lose. He's, glorified. He's not really getting anything to blame. Uh, they kind of put it on the coach, the team, but it's never solely on the quarterback for the player loss.
Yeah, so the quarterback I picked, I'm on the can't do wrong side. So like I'm here for it. It's Justin Herbert. I mean, if you look at him so far through the season, he's top 10 in yards, passer rating, and touchdowns. It's literally just been, the story of the season, the story of Justin Herbert's career. And maybe the Chargers are cursed because you can go all the way back to Philip Rivers. He was putting up numbers, his entire career out there in San Diego with the Chargers, but it never really amounted to anything. So, hopefully Justin Herbert doesn't go down that same path. But so far this season, I mean, we made the jokes all the time. Brandon Staley finds ways to lose games, not win them. His coaching decisions, I was kind of higher on him, but that was just because he was coaching Herbert. Now I understand and see that it's just not there. Defense has always been a question since Herbert's been there, and Staley's supposed to be the defensive coach. They got the guys, they got the big names, but whether it's injuries or guys not just playing up to what we expect, the defense always seems lackluster. And then weapons, especially this year, Mike Evans or not Mike Evans, excuse me, Mike Williams, he's always been in and out his entire career with injuries, and it seems like when he's injured, it's like he's either completely healthy or his season's done. Like there's no in between. It's always like an ACL or something's breaking or like some crazy injury, which is just unfortunate because when he's on the field, he's a really, really good target. Keenan Allen, at this point of his career, he's like leaves games for 2 quarters, then comes back. But when he plays, he's like super, super productive. He has one of the best seasons so far as a receiver this year because of Justin Herbert. And then like who else are we throwing to? Quentin Johnson. Everyone's saying he's a bust. Like he's not really showing, that first round potential when you got guys like, Jordan Addison, Puka Nakua, these guys drafted later after him who are still producing. So yeah, Austin Eckler, he's solid, but once again, he's getting up there in age. He's older, not looking like he's gonna have 20 touchdowns like he did the last season. So I do think the answer is Justin Herbert, but I'm here to defend Justin Herbert. I'm on his side. In my eyes, Herbert cannot do any wrong.
That's why it's a can't do wrong QB award, man. So next one up, man. I got boomer bust, man. It could be a player, it could be a team, but one week, this player or team, they show up, they look like the greatest team or player on the earth. Next week, they're nowhere to be found.
Yeah, and for this one, I went with two teams. It was kind
Okay.
of I didn't know who to go between, but I think I'm gonna pick one of them. But for me, it was between the Ravens and the Seahawks. And the Ravens have looked very good at times during the season. They got the two big blowout wins at home against the Seahawks, who I'm about to mention, against the Lions as well. But then they have a loss, I believe, at home to the Colts, which is, looking at it now, is not that that's a bad loss. And then we saw what happened with the Browns last week. And there just seems to be times where the Ravens can, they just can't put games away. They have the big leads. They just can't seem to put them away. But I still believe in that Baltimore defense, Lamar Jackson. We know what he can do. He's a really good quarterback. So I'm not going to say the Ravens. I think the Ravens are more boom than they are bust. So I'm going to pick the Seahawks, man. The Seahawks it's been weird. I mean, they started off the week with a loss to the Rams, I believe. They started off the season with a loss to the Rams. And then I believe they lost to the Bengals, and then they had the big blowout against the Ravens. So yeah, those are three like okay losses, but they just really don't look super, super, dominant when they're winning. The game against the Commanders last week, barely squeaking by. The offense just doesn't look the same. Geno Smith really doesn't look how he looked last year. The run game seems to just look, less and less productive. Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet are two solid running backs, but they just can't seem to get it going. Defensively, they got some nice young guys on the perimeter, but pass rush rise, what do they get in there? Can't really get to the quarterback. So I think the Seahawks are a team that, especially in the NFC, will probably end up making the playoffs. But it's like, how good are they really? There's been times during the season they've looked really, really good, and there's been other times where it's like, they like, how are they going to make the playoffs? So I think the boomer bust for me, the team will be the Seahawks this season.
I mean, I agree with you, man. Some weeks, they get some good wins.
Yeah,
And some other weeks they could barely squeak by PJ Walker led Browns team. So I mean,
exactly. And like when that offense is clicking, they got the playmakers, man. DK, Tyler Lockett, JSN, he's coming along this season. He's starting to get more productive, and the two running backs, like I mentioned, like they got some dudes out there. It's just can't really seem to put it together. So that would
yeah.
be my boomer bust team.
So last one up, instead of, your last one was turn the ship around, mine is burn the ship down. So, a
Yeah,
team
and
that's
this was my
really
favorite one. Yeah.
bottom of the barrel, team that needs to look to a rebuild. I'm talking, a few years into the making. They need a full rebuild, coach, players, stuff like that.
Yeah, we was talking like right before we started. The obvious team, obviously the Patriots. Like, I mean, will Bill Belichick even coach there again? Who knows? Maybe he like steps down during the bye. Mac Jones is looking like a change of scenery. Still can't believe he was a Pro Bowler his rookie year. Like that's insane.
Went to the
Uh,
playoffs.
yeah, no weapons around. Defensively, they're gonna be always solid because of Bill, but that team just looks abysmal. But the team I picked, and like I said, this is a team that this entire season, like I just feel like it should be so much better than what they are. So they should just blow it up and start over. That's the Atlanta Falcons, bro. Like this team is just it just doesn't make any sense. Like they shouldn't blow it up in the sense of just get rid of all their players because I mean I love their talent. They got Drake London on the outside, Bijan Robinson, top. I think he was what number 7 pick overall, the best player on their offense, super explosive. If you don't like Bijan or if your name is Arthur Smith, you have Tyler Algier, 1,000 yard rusher as a rookie last year. He showed that he can get it done in the league. And then you have Kyle Pitts, big, super athletic, versatile target over the middle of the field. Like they got guys there. Offensive line is really, really good. Chris Lindstrom, one of the best guards in the league. They can block in Atlanta. Defense, they brought over Jesse Bates, just Jeff Okuda. They got some solid pieces on defense. Defense, I don't think has the potential as their offense, but you just look at a quarterback position. This was when I was thinking of the QB Paradise Award, this is the team I was thinking of. Like, bro, Desmond Ritter, Taylor Heineke. We were joking, like, okay, Desmond Ritter, what, 3 turnovers? So you play someone Heineke who gives you 2. Like, is that really moving the needle? It's not. And then Arthur Smith, just the way plays are being called, not utilizing his best weapons. When you got guys like, Mac Hollins, Jonnu Smith, Van Jefferson, like these are the guys that are like the main focal points of the offense. When you have these weapons that I just mentioned, even Algier, he shouldn't be getting more of the workload than Bijan Robinson at this point. Like he just shouldn't. Bijan's the better player, probably their best offensive player or best skill position. So it's just tough. And then they just lose to like bad teams, dog. Like you seen the Vikings loss. Who did they just lose to this past week? Forgot who did they
Uh,
play.
let me
It was
take
a
a look
bad
real quick.
loss. Yeah.
But I mean, it's the
The
same.
Cardinals, yeah. Kyler
Yeah,
Murray, his first week
come
back,
back.
the Cardinals, yeah. So it's just tough because there's so much talent on this team, and it's like, damn, like it should be a lot better, especially in that division you were just talking about. Like, it's up for grabs. Like, there's no one separating, and the Falcons, I feel like, have the talent to separate, but they're just not. So I'm in the front offense, and we're not separating, and we're not using all of our players. Let's just blow it up, turn it around, get Arthur Smith out of there, who I just saw in a report, who's probably gonna, stay through the rest of the season and be their coach next year. Not exciting. Finally get a quarterback. If you blow it up, you get to tank for a QB. I know this is the NFL and not the NBA, and tanking is like, you just never do that. It's the worst thing ever. But listen, if there's ever a time to tank, it might be too late. It definitely is too late because you already got some teams set themselves in position to tank. But it's just this Falcons team, the way they ran in the quarterback position. It just deserves to be blown up. They need to do something different in Atlanta because it's just not working. Ever since the Super Bowl, they've just been mid, bro. It hasn't worked.
I mean, yeah, they definitely could use one real bad, and they're definitely on my list, man. I went with the obvious choice, but the Falcons are definitely up there, man. That's gonna conclude our little new award segment, man. Um, might be something that we look at end of the season, do it again in a few weeks.
Yeah,
But no hot or not this week, man. That took over hot or not president. So that's gonna jump us into, excuse me, I said week 12 earlier, week 11.
week 11.
Um,
Yeah,
yeah, NFL season in week 11 pick'ems. Week 10, man, neck and neck. I went 9-4. You went 8-5. You still got an 8-game lead over me through 10 weeks on the season, man. So we're gonna jump right into
wait,
week
hold
11.
up. Are we before we go on? Are we counting that Houston Cincinnati game?
You're telling me you would have took Houston.
No, I'm just saying I didn't take anybody, so I feel like it shouldn't be counted. I think we should both just that game just shouldn't count for either one of us.
Bro,
Because
yeah.
you took Cincy, I'll give you the free pass. Cause I don't like. Come on, bro.
I told you to
I
put your
say
team in there, and you literally said, "Come on, bro. You know who I'm taking."
no. I don't remember that, bro. I think. Listen, it
All
wasn't
right, bro.
officially recorded. It's not
Nine
on the
and
record,
three,
so
9-3, eight and
that game
four,
shouldn't
bro.
count, bro.
Wow, it's just gonna remove one loss. I'll change it after the show. So
Cause I've been
84
I've
and
been fucking with the Texans, bro.
yeah, all right, man. So 84 and 64, and it's gonna be 92 and 56. Remind me to change it after. Um, that's gonna bring us to week 11, man. Week 11, man, it's starting off with a little kick, man. I know I'm messing with it, bro, just because it's AFC North divisional football going on in our first two games, man. Thursday night football, man. We got the Bengals traveling to Baltimore to play the Ravens, both coming off tough losses, man. I'm going to go ahead, pick the Ravens, man. I mean, they played a really great game against the Browns. We'll jump into that, I think, a little more when I talk about the Browns just next. But the Bengals, man, I mean, they had the Texans. They got off to an early lead, and then CJ Stroud coming back after dealing with a little adversity, throwing a terrible interception just a second on the season. He puts his team in a spot to win, man, kick a game-winning field goal. And the Texans, they walked it off against the Bengals, who everyone thought, you asked me a couple of weeks ago, are the Bengals back, man? And I told you I really don't think so. Um, they lose a tough game to the Texans. I think they were at home too. Yeah, at home.
They were at home, yeah.
So, it was a tough game. I think this Thursday night game, it's gonna be tough. Divisional matchup, AFC North. We talk about it, but I think the Ravens got the edge, man. I like the way they've been playing. Talk about, their little meltdowns and whatnot, but I mean, I think they're the better team. They're at home. You got to handle business against this Bengals team who, they've been going head to head for a couple years now. So,
Yeah, I mentioned last week I think the Bengals can be, a sleeper team in the AFC, and I think they are still really good. But Houston, you got to give them their respect. I think that's more of Houston going out there and winning than the Bengals losing because the Bengals played well. Bengals also were a little banged up last game too, so weren't at full strength. But I mean, that's taking nothing away from Houston and what they did against the Bengals on the road, which is that game was crazy. Like you mentioned, CJ Stroud showing poison stuff. But I just think for the Bengals, especially after that loss at this point in the season, it's unfortunate because I think their slow start kind of had them behind the eight ball. So it might I don't want to say it's too little too late, but it's definitely going to be a tough road to try to get back into playoff contention and winning one of those playoff games. But if they do squeak in, whoever gets to play the Bengals, in one of those first rounds as the higher seed, that'll definitely be a tough matchup. But I'm with you, man. Like you said, the Ravens, it seems like they've been playing every single game this year at home. Like, I don't know how they're home again, but yeah, at home against the Bengals, that defense, especially, I think can, make a couple of big plays. And you just want Lamar to protect the ball, get the ball out to his weapons, and maybe they'll run it. Mitchell, he had couple big runs, but they just stopped giving him the ball in the second half. Saw Harbaugh said he'll be more a part of the game plan. So, especially against that Browns defense, where outside or excuse me, that Bengals defense, you want to get the ball running, make it easy for Lamar, pull up those linebackers. So yeah, I think at home defense makes a couple big plays. They had that loss to the Browns last week, so they want to make a statement and show that that was just a tough loss. It's another tough game, but they want to show that they can beat those tough opponents and stuff like that. So I think at home the Ravens kind of right the ship, get back under control, and get a good win on the road at home against the Bengals. But the Bengals could easily win this, like you said. It's going to be a good divisional game, but I got the Ravens.
Yeah, finally some Thursday night football on
Yeah,
paper
worth
that's worth
watching.
watching. Yeah,
Yeah,
so uh, also the Ravens have played four of their last five at home, so that's why it also
yeah.
feels like they've been straight home games, man. But um, it's gonna lead us to another AFC North matchup. But quickly, just saw JPA football, man. The Jets had a players only meeting today. I guess
I
we could touch on that in a little, but
think Zach Wilson was included in that meeting.
I don't know. But they're talking about Michael Carter was cut a few hours after that, so they can't be happy. I don't know,
Oh man,
man.
I did see they cut Michael Carter, but yeah,
Yeah, apparently big locker room guy. They loved him over there, so not sure how they're gonna be dealing with that. But classic NFL
sign him to the
move,
practice
and
squad.
yeah,
Yeah.
we'll see. Next game up, man, AFC North matchup, as I said. This one's Steelers Browns. Last time these two teams matched up, man, I as a Browns fan, I wasn't focused on the game. It was the Nick Chubb injury that devastated the Cleveland Browns organization, and the talks of they try to lean on Deshaun, didn't work out. And Deshaun, he paid him all this money to go out there win games against these tough North teams. He couldn't go out and do that. Last week, Deshaun comes out horrible first half, man. Pick six to start the game, first pass, and then he goes, I think 1 for 9 or whatever it was in the first half for like 19 yards or whatever. Comes out slinging second half, 14 for 14, didn't miss a beat. I mean, he was going through his reads, his progressions, scrambling out the pocket. He looked like Houston Deshaun, maybe just a little bit slower, but there was a play or two where he scrambled, looked like he had those legs, man. He got past, some linebackers of the Ravens who pretty fast, Patrick Queen and company. Those are speed guys, but at home, man, against this Steelers team, we talk about this Steelers offense. And I've been saying it since week one, get Jalen Warren the rock, now named the starting running
Yeah.
back. He's been getting the rock, man. Jalen Warren's been looking real good for the Steelers. That, Kenny Pickett pass offense is still, boomer bust, depending on a big Deontay Johnson or George Pickens play. And without that, they look like, I can't even say one dimensional, man, because with Najee, there was zero dimensional. And now with Jalen Warren, they open up the game a little bit. Good pass catcher out the backfield as well. Like what they got going. Defense, we know what they're about. They get stops against the Packers. I know it's Jordan Love and the Packers and haven't been playing the best, but they went out. They got a big turnover late in the game as Jordan Love was driving down the field with the Packers, secured them a win. So the defense, always something to be worried about, but Browns defense, man, Denzel Ward went down with an injury. You got Mike Ford, fourth string corner, catching picks off Lamar. Greg Newsome, first career pick six. Defense is looking right. Myles Garrett, double digit sacks. Linebackers, I mean, right now, the Browns defense playing elite. We know this. They went up against the Ravens, who were the quote unquote best defense in the league with the Browns. I think they solidified, being up there. And Deshaun Watson, man, if he plays like he did in the second half, hitting his check down, going through reads, hitting Amari Cooper, David Njoku is looking like a top, I could say comfortably top 5 tight end right now. I want to push top 3 possibly, but we'll see about that. Give me the Browns at home, man, against the Steelers.
Well, yeah, Dallas Goedert's out for a couple of weeks, so
Yeah.
I'll give it to you right now. Yeah, yeah.
Okay. I mean,
But
top 5 if you want to name them, bro.
top five right now,
I mean, yeah, who tight
tight
ends? I mean, we
ends.
got Kelsey.
I would put Kelsey at one. Kittle's been playing very well. Kittle two. Hawkinson's been playing very well also, especially with Jefferson out. Hawkinson three,
Say Laporta.
four. Laporta, but he's been solid up and down.
Yeah, he's been
Mark
cool.
Andrews has had a good season as well too. Mark Andrews has been balling too.
Hmm.
So I would put Mark Andrews above Laporta. So
Okay.
Kelsey, Kittle,
So he's in that top 5 conversation.
conversation. I'll give it to you.
Okay.
And Goddard was getting it going
I'm
too at
not
the end
mad at
before
it.
he got
He's
injured. Yeah.
slow start to the season, man. I mean, in his career in general, but he's looking like a guy. He made some big plays down the stretch.
Yeah. I think I'm gonna pick the Browns here as well at home. And you said the Steelers passing offense seemed to be boom or bust, but I think that's being a little generous at this point, man. If it's not like a bomb down the sideline to George Pickens, that's like
Out of
literally the
bounds.
only explosive play they have. Yeah, out of bounds because he doesn't toe tap or
So
it's just
one-handed
it's
catch
full
out of
catches.
bounds,
Yeah,
and this
yeah. It's either
would have
gonna be
been the
like a highlight
greatest.
reel catch or it's just gonna be out of bounds. No in between. But in terms of explosive plays, that's like the only explosive play they seem to have in their offense. Deontay Johnson, he's a super reliable target, but he does most of his work underneath, intermediate. He's not really stretching the field. So in terms of offense, I mean, I didn't know they named Jalen Warren the starter. That's funny, but yeah, it's been pretty much a split committee there in terms of running, and they've been okay. But I do think Jalen Warren adds a little more explosiveness, moves the needle a little bit more. But ultimately, I just think this game comes down to the Browns defense. Like you mentioned, I mean, at this point in the season, I don't know how you, I mean, you could argue it, but I think they're definitely the best defense in the league right now. And I just think it comes down to, maybe big strip sack from Myles Garrett. That defense gets some pressure, or that back end is playing very well. A pick, maybe a pick six, but a couple big plays to turn field position so that way Deshaun Watson doesn't, have to drive, 80, 70 yards to get a touchdown. Maybe they only have to go 30, 40 yards to get some points on the board, which is a lot easier. So I think Browns defense makes a couple big plays, helps out the offense, gives them the ball in plus position, and they capitalize. So I think the Browns, especially at home, could definitely take care of business against the Steelers.
Yeah, man. Next game up, man, it's gonna be the Vegas Raiders, newly reformed Vegas Raiders, traveling to Miami to play the Dolphins. I mean, Raiders, they got a little momentum. It was a field goal game last week. I mean, everyone was talking about
Against the
Devontae
Jets.
Adams. He looks happy, man.
Yeah.
So the new Raiders team, Josh Jacobs, getting some work playing in Miami against the Dolphins. I like the way the season has swung for them. We mentioned Alec Pierce, the head coach, uh, Alex Pierce, I think, not Alec Pierce, but he's getting the job done, man. He's got the players playing motivated. Had the practice squad players on the sideline, something you don't do in the NFL. Had those guys rejuvenated. He talked about it. It's not so much about scheming as when you become that interim head coach. It's getting those guys ready mentally and physically at that point, making them play free spirited, all the weights off the shoulder. And Josh Jacobs, I think he had 100 yards last week, and big week before that as well. So he's looking like, Josh Jacobs of old. But the Dolphins, man, coming off a bye at home, just had a tough loss in Germany against the Chiefs. You got to bounce back with the win. I mean, it's really no option for the Dolphins to lose this game. Expect Tua to get back on track. Mike McDaniel, this offense, the defense has started to come on to play a lot better later in the season. Vic Fangio getting the play calls right. Back healthy. Jalen on the outside. Getting some guys back on the defensive side of things. I think the Dolphins, matchup wise, should win this one comfortably.
Yeah, I'm pretty much right there with you. The Dolphins coming off of a bye, a week to get some of those guys healthy. I just think it comes down to it could be close at first, but I think the Dolphins pull away comfortably, and they just got too much firepower on that offense. And defensively, outside of Max Crosby, who can make a couple big plays, I just don't know how the Raiders are going to be able to play that physical, taxing brand of football that so far has been able, the recipe to beat the Dolphins. I don't really see who can bring that outside of Max Crosby, like I mentioned, for the Raiders. So I think Tua, has a couple plays where he has time to stretch the field, hit Tyreek Waddle down, a couple deep passes, but also that run game hopefully gets back going. I saw A-Chain activated off the IR, so hopefully he'll be back. Him and Mostert, we saw what they were able to do when they were on the field together when they put up that 70-point game earlier this year. So a lot of explosive plays, a lot of explosive players on the offense for the Dolphins, and I just think ultimately it'll be too much for the Raiders to keep up with. And like you mentioned, Pierce has done a great job. Former player, knows what it's like rallying those guys around. They got a couple nice wins on a 2-game win streak, I believe. And I think this is finally the week the Dolphins beat an opponent at 500 or better. So I'm gonna pick Miami.
And the next game up, man, we got the Chicago Bears traveling to Detroit, play the Lions, man. And I mean, last week, Thursday Night Football, it was a tough watch, Panthers Bears. I think someone said it's like watching grass grow. And I mean, it was relatable. Give me the Lions at home, man. NFC, whatever you put them in, they're top three NFC team, top team in this league right now. And they're clicking on all cylinders. Jameer Gibbs getting involved in this offense, being used now. Jameer Gibbs fantasy owners very happy with it. Me as well. So, I mean, I'm loving it. I mean, I know Lions fans are loving it. He's so explosive. And they were talking about in the game last week. When you got guys like Gibbs, Montgomery making those linebackers come down, guard the box, worried about that, swing pass outside boundary line of scrimmage, opens up the middle of the field, and Jared Goff's able to let it rip to where you don't have them dropping back into those deep mid zones. He's able to hit those receivers for that 15-yard in the middle, 20-yard middle of the field. So this Lions team, they're clicking. They're looking like one of the best teams in the NFC. Give me them at home against the Bears.
Yeah, we're pretty much on the same page so far. The Bears, not really much to say at this point, aside, maybe Justin Fields comes back, has a couple of explosive plays there. I think his thumb's healed. I think he's on track to play. So we'll see what Justin Fields can put together through the end of this year, as end of the season, as he's pretty much, basically playing for a job at this point, because it looks like the Bears will definitely have that Carolina pick or their own pick that'll be up there, maybe, 1, 2, definitely top three. Might want to take a quarterback. So we'll see what Justin Fields is able to do if he shows some flashes or continues to grow. I think he should be safe. But in terms of this game, I like the Lions as well at home. Jared Goff in that dome is one of the best quarterbacks in the league, especially against this Bears team who defensively they've shown some fight, but I just don't think they'll be able to keep up with the Lions. Like you mentioned, one of the best teams in the NFC, and I'd go as far as to say the NFL right now. The Lions, after that 0-16 season, they deserve it. They finally turned this franchise around, and they're winning games. So a fun time to be a Lions fan right now. They're a super fun team, and I think they keep rolling, and they beat the Bears pretty convincingly.
All right, man. Next game up, man. We got the Titans, Jags, man. Jags are at home. Titans coming off an ugly loss. And I mean, I was in Tennessee for that game. They were showing the game everywhere out in Tennessee, man. And I watched every play of that game. And Will Levis was just getting laid out every single play, man. That O line really struggles in Tennessee. Derrick Henry can't get anywhere, man. He's getting hit at the line every single play. it's a tough scene for the Titans. That's one of the teams you could have thrown into that rebuild mix, in my opinion, man. Jags coming off an ugly game as well against the Niners. But AFC South matchup, man, give me the Jags at home, game they should win. Trying to take command. I say this every week. They got to win some games, man. I mean, they're right up there in that fraud category that everyone puts the Dolphins, in my opinion. So, hey, give me the Jags at home.
Yeah, I think the Jags win at home as well. The only reason I didn't pick Titans for that, rebuild or burn down the ship or whatever. Just I think Will Levis has showed some promise over these last couple of weeks. He's shown some flashes and they got some talent, but they definitely are a contender. They need more pieces, and but I like their coach as well. Vrabel's a great coach. But yeah, on the road, the Jags, they have talent. It seems to be they have the quarterback. Trevor Lawrence is a good quarterback, but they just got to put these games together. And I'm with you, man. They got to win. It comes to a point where, yeah, you're playing good teams, but you got to put some stuff together. You got to put some wins on paper. And they beat Buffalo earlier, but they played the Chiefs. They played the 49ers. These are, two big games. You want to see, hopefully win one of them. But unfortunately, they came away with a loss in both of them. But I'm with you, man. Especially in this division, and especially with that loss already to Houston, they're starting to heat up. You want to win that next game and don't want to lose any games to them. So hopefully, if you split, you still got the lead. But I think Houston's sneaking up right on them, and this is definitely a game they got to win if they want to, hold that division lead. So I think they get it done. I'm gonna pick the Jags as well.
Next game up, man. Chargers traveling to Lambeau to play the Pack, man. This one, it was a toss up for me. I mean, the Pack, man, it seems like every week I pick them, they lose. Don't pick them, they win. Staley, we talk about it week in and week out. Don't got to say it again, man. But they lost a heartbreaker last week. The Pack also came down to the wire. Both of them were in competitive games, man. So, I mean, kudos to Dan Campbell. 4th and 2, 4th and 4, he went for it with a minute and 40 left when they could have kicked the field goal, but he left no time on the clock for Herbert to get the ball back. He knows how capable of a quarterback and offense they really have over there. But, on the road, I'm going to go with the Chargers. It's going to be a tough game, tough environment to play in. I mean, it's really a coin flip, and I'm going with the Chargers right now.
Yeah, this is also a coin flip for me as well. This is gonna be a close game, but I like the Packers here at home. We always joke about can they score, points in the first half, and last week they put up some points in the first half against Steelers. Finally scored a touchdown before halftime, so I think that's promising. Hopefully they can build off of that. This is nowhere near as good of a defense as the Steelers, so you want to see them. Even though they lost last week, came down to the last second, last play, ride some of that momentum they had offensively. Aaron Jones got it going. Getting him out of space is always a big plus. So I'm gonna say the Packers get a win at home, but I'm with you, man. It's a toss up. The Chargers could easily win it.
Next game, NFC East matchup. Giants travel to Washington, play the Commanders, man. And I mean, at this point in the season, two teams, uh, tough watch for sure. Tommy DeVito, his family's showing out, man. There's been a lot of comments on him staying at the crib and whatnot, not hating him. But I mean, this game, I'm just going with the Commanders at this point. I think they're better defense. I mean, quarterback Sam Howell's got more experience than DeVito. Don't really, like him. That O line is one of the worst in the league as well. So he's probably going to be one of the most sacked quarterbacks of all time. Just give me the Commanders. Hopefully Jahan Dotson wants to show up this week. But who knows? He might be on. He's probably on my bench, so he's got 30 in him. And Sam Howell and him connecting like they're Santana Moss back in the day. But give me the Commanders at home.
Yeah, you pretty much covered all there is to say about this game. Giants are in a rough shape. Commanders are in a rough shape as well, but a little bit better than the Giants. I'm gonna pick the Commanders at home. Already beat them earlier this year, so they get the sweep.
Next one up, Cowboys, Panthers, man, and Carolina. I'm gonna go with the Cowboys. I really want to see the Panthers get a win. So, I mean, I kind of shitted on them when they played Houston and they went out and beat Houston.
Yeah,
So I'm
same.
kind of going with the same thing. I don't know if they're going to beat Dallas this week. Cowboys the better team. Panthers, I mean, it's not like they're playing the tank. We mention it every week. They don't have their first round pick, so they want to win. They're there to win football games, and who knows? Maybe Bryce Young gets another one, but I think the Cowboys coming off a huge. I mean, they blew out the Giants, huge win. But
Yeah.
CeeDee Lamb looks like he's on the same page with Dak right now. They're looking elite in the past couple weeks. So give me the Cowboys on the road.
Yeah, the Cowboys are definitely the better team here, but I'm gonna just say this now. Don't sleep. I think this is the game. I can see the Panthers squeezing one out and, you know, finding a way to win against the Cowboys here at home. Maybe, Bryce Young has his best game. And once Dak plays from behind, he's a different quarterback. But with that being said, I don't think he'll have to play from behind. This defense, especially against this Carolina offense, that just we're what 11 weeks in, they still haven't found a true identity. Still not able to help Bryce Young at this point. So it's going to be tough for the Panthers. I think Cowboys just make a couple big plays. You mentioned that CD Lamb, Dak Prescott connection. CD after the bye a couple weeks ago has definitely elevated his game and showing that he's an elite, one of the top receivers playing football right now. So Cowboys are the better team. I like them here on the road, but don't sleep on the Panthers. I'm gonna just say that here first.
But the next one up, I think, is a true trap game, man. Arizona Cardinals traveling to Houston, Texas. Play those red hot Texans, man, coming off a huge win against the Bengals. CJ Stroud looking elite, man, in that MVP conversation currently. His name's been brought up a few times. And the Cardinals, K1's back, man. Made a big play with his legs last week to secure that, game winning field goal. And I see this game kind of going both ways, man. It could be a trap game for the Texans, but I think CJ Stroud truly does have that poise, leadership at quarterback. I know he's young, I know he's a rookie, but this is what these quarterbacks do that are poised, that are, level headed, and that could go out there and compete. CJ Stroud, I think he's one of those guys, man. So I think he gets business done at home, in Texas. It's gonna be a tough matchup. Kyler Murray, former first overall pick, CJ Stroud, number 2 overall pick. But regardless of the fact, I think, it's going to be a showdown of the 1-2 in two different classes. But give me the Texans at home. Tank Dell, Nico Collins, those guys in Houston. 5.61 motor. He had a big game last week.
He
So shout
did.
out Devin Singletary, man. Give me the Texans at home.
Yeah, right now the Texans seem to be firing on all cylinders, but you mentioned it, a trap game. The Cardinals have been feisty, like you mentioned, even with Josh Dobbs. Now you insert Kyler Murray, who you saw last week in his first game since the ACL injury, who, by the way, looked, just as good. He was out there running around, got a rushing TD, using his legs, extending plays. So I think this Cardinals team has the potential to be a lot better than what people think, especially when you put in Kyler Murray, who, is a proven quarterback in this league. We know he can get it done. We know he's a special playmaker when it comes to, extending plays and running around and finding guys down the field. So I think on the road, Kyler Murray can make one or two big plays and they squeak by the Texans. And maybe we see, another CJ Stroud slip up, kind of like that interception, and the Cardinals take advantage. So, like you mentioned, I think this will be a good game. Two quarterbacks who, like you mentioned, have shown so far this season, and Kyler Murray in his career in this last game that they're capable quarterbacks. So two capable quarterbacks playing football should always make for some good television, good entertainment. But yeah, I think it'll be a close game as well. But I see the Cardinals squeaking one out. But I mean, the Texans could easily win it. But I'm gonna rock with the Cardinals here. Kyler Murray, second game back, a little more comfortable. I think they get it done.
It's gonna lead us to the next game. In my opinion, this is the real trap game. Bucks travel to San Fran to play the Niners. I said they're gonna turn the ship around. I'm gonna rock with the Niners, man. This is a should-win game for them. But I just got a feeling about the Bucks, man. Mike Evans had a drop touchdown last week, made up for it. But I mean, that was one you never think he'd miss. That was a walk in. I don't know.
He gonna have one of those every year though. Like when that one from Brady, that one against the
Oh,
Panthers
that was
last
the
year.
deep ball. Yeah.
Yeah, the deep
That I
ball.
mean,
Yeah,
this was a red
just wide
zone, like
open in his
10
hands.
yard.
Like
I mean, that
good for
was
one of those this
inexcusable,
season,
bro.
bro.
Dude's at
He good for yeah.
the Pee-wee level making that catch. So, um, but Bucks Niners and the Niners, I mean, they look good. Chase Young was out there leading the team with the boom box. He's at the front of the line. They look back like, the old mojo. They're playing with a little bit of swagger, a little bit of energy. CMC first game without a touchdown. He's gonna bounce back with one of those. You know it. Uh, Give me the Niners at home, but I would not be surprised if they kind of get complacent. They see the Bucks on the schedule, and the Bucks, man, they're fighting for their life in that NFC South, so they got a little chip on their shoulder.
I think the 49ers and their complacency and their trap games are behind them. I mean, they already lost to the Vikings when the Vikings had one win, so we kind of saw that. They lost to the Bengals as well, and then one other team I can't
The Browns.
bring the Brown, yeah, and the Browns. So think their complacency and their trap games or whatever is out the window here. And I think from here on out they're pretty much in playoff mode. They know kind of like this is coming toward the final stretch. They got to win these games, especially when you get a team like the Bucks. You should put them away. So I'm gonna rock with the 49ers. You mentioned Chase Young, him and Nick Bosa showing a little juice off the edge. Chase Young looking comfortable. And offensively, Purdy looking like, the Purdy before that 3-game losing streak. He was very decisive, playing with, great anticipation, accuracy, and placement of the ball. Kittle getting involved. And, I think the big thing is that they got back healthy, man. Debo was on the field and Trent Williams was back out there. So at full strength, I think the 49ers can go toe to toe with any team in the league, and I think they put away the Bucks here at home.
Yeah, man, that's gonna lead us next game up, man. AFC East matchup: Jets traveling to Buffalo to play the Bills. Man, I know Ken Dorsey got fired today, so the Bills might be playing with a little free, a little extra. I mean, at this point, though, I don't want to take the Bills, man. They lose to the Denver Broncos on prime time. Like
Yeah.
it really makes me not want to take on what's going on in Buffalo. I mean, I got diehard Bills fans telling me just chalk the season up at this point. So, I mean, give me the Jets on the road, man. Zach Wilson, limit those mistakes, defense, just like week one when Rodgers went down. Maybe see the same thing. History shouldn't repeat itself uh, for the Bills, but at this point, I think so, man. I mean, give me the Jets on the road.
I 100% agree with everything you said, but there was, two words that I just couldn't agree with, man. That's Zach Wilson, bro. Like at this point, I I don't. It's tough with him, man. It really is up and down. He has like two turnover games. Coach Robert Sala comes out and is like, it's not even his worst game. Like, yeah, that's the whole point. Jets are in a tough place because like you mentioned, they're your QB paradise pick. Literally everything else, maybe except O line. You want to see a slightly better O line, but everything else is is set up for this Jets team to be in win now mode. It's just the most important position. Zach Wilson is holding them back. So I'm gonna pick the Bills, like you mentioned. Ken Dorsey's out of there, kind of like what we saw with the Raiders a couple weeks ago. Byron McDaniels, now they're on a 2-game win streak. So never whenever teams fire a coach or a coordinator, it always seems, as like a, just a weight off their shoulders. Like they were waiting for this moment. Now they're more free, like you mentioned. So I think the Bills, especially after that bad loss to the Broncos. Now I'm with those, Bills fans that are telling you chop the season up. I think it is over for the Bills. I think, especially in the AFC, it's going to be tough for them to make the playoffs. So I think at this point they should be looking, long term, not this season. But I do think they can beat the Jets, who spoiled their, season in the first week after Rodgers went down. So Zach Wilson has done it before. He's beat them before this season. I just don't see him doing it again this season. So I'm gonna pick the Bills.
It's gonna lead us next game up, man. The Boomer Bust Seahawks, man, playing the Los Angeles Rams in LA SoFi Stadium, man. I've said it week in, week out. I like this Rams offense, man. Sometimes they click, sometimes they don't. The Stafford Cup Puka connection. I think they're coming off a bye last week.
Yeah.
Um, Stafford gets a week to get healthy. He had that thumb injury, gets another week to get rejuvenated, come back and play. So I'm gonna take the Rams, man. I think that offense keeps clicking. I think Kyron Williams back as well. Uh, so expect that ground game, man, the offense to get going. I think it's gonna be a little too much for Seattle to handle, and they kind of fold like we've been seeing sometimes.
I like the Rams in this spot as well. Matthew Stafford expected to play, so if he's back there, I like their chances. And I think this has, like some shootout vibes. Two teams that, can show that they got the weapons and they have, the ability to push the ball downfield. Cup and Puka, like you mentioned, have been a really solid duo. And then on the other side, you got Lockett and DK throwing JSN. So I think it'll be some good offensive play in this game. But even though it's at home, which shouldn't really make a difference, it'll probably be like a Seattle home game, for being honest. 12 man traveling, maybe we'll say, 11 and a half man at this point. But yeah, I'm going to pick the Rams here to get the sweep. They already beat them with the 12th man, so 11 and a half. I like them to cover.
I would even say 12th man coming with them at this point in SoFi. It's gonna lead to Sunday night football, man. Josh Dobbs led Vikings team travel to Denver, play the Broncos coming off a win against the Bills Monday night football. Maybe they have a little bit of momentum. Josh Dobbs on the road now. Not easy playing in Mile High. Uh, and I think this is the game where you see, Josh Dobbs. I know he was my guy for underappreciated. I think we see him come back a little to earth, man. It's still a new system to him, new playbook, new cadence, new everything. And it's tough. And, I think the first week he came in midway through the game. Second week, still trying to figure out where that locker room was at in Minnesota. Now I think you hit that little hump at this point in the season where he looks a little bit shaky. The Broncos squeak one out at home. It's going to be a close game, but Josh Dobbs, one or two mistakes, see him come back to earth a little bit before he kicks it back up. I think, he has a solid rest of the season with the Vikings, but I think this week, you kind of see that roughness from Josh Dobbs.
uh, I agree. I think it'll be a tough game. It'll be a close game. I'm gonna touch on the Broncos real quick. They've been this, quietly on a little win streak, I believe. So beat the Chiefs at home, and then they just beat the Bills on the road. So they got two quality, whatever you make of the Bills, quality wins, and I believe they're on a 3 game win streak. So the Vikings are definitely, I would say a step below both of those teams, or maybe right up there with the Bills, but I think they're in the same kind of realm. But Broncos have been playing solid football. Russ has been, he hasn't been cooking, but he's been warming food up. Russ is looking solid. That crazy
Simmer.
touchdown pass to Cortland Sutton, yeah, it was insane. But he's doing just enough there, leaning on that run game heavy. And defensively, they've seemed to, rallied from 70 point, embarrassment they got put on them earlier this year, and they've come back down to earth and have been a little bit more productive. So I like this Broncos team, but unfortunately, they're playing against Josh Dobbs, and you mentioned stuff will be tough for him. But listen, we all know the saying it's not rocket science, and for Josh Dobbs, who is a literal rocket science, it's not rocket science. He gets the best weapon in football back this week, Justin Jefferson. He's coming off of the IR. So listen, I mean, like I said, the best player Josh Dobbs has thrown to in his life will be out there to help him. TJ Hawkinson was a little banged up last week, but he's tough. He might go. I believe KJ Osborne might be out of concussion protocol. He should be able to go, and if not, they still got Jordan Addison. So that'll be him and Jefferson will be a really, really good 1-2 punch on the outside. I believe Alexander Madison is down, but run game has been nothing for them regardless, so it doesn't even matter. Josh Dobbs is the best run game they have this season, so he'll continue to scramble out and make plays. So I think the Vikings, with Jefferson back, with those explosive playmakers that they have on the outside, and Dobbs able to extend plays and pick up a couple first downs with his legs, it's going to be a little too much for the Broncos to keep up with, even at home. So I'm gonna pick the Vikings in. Honestly, like when you look at it, Vikings and Broncos, you don't think of it being a good game, but I think this has the makings to be a pretty good football game. So a primetime game that looks like or should be worth the primetime slot. So I'm gonna pick the Vikings in a nice win here.
I agree with you, man. It's gonna be a good game, no doubt. It's gonna lead us to Monday Night Football, man. Super Bowl
Uh,
rematch, man. Eagles travel to, Arrowhead and play the Chiefs, man. I'll let you go. Floor is definitely yours.
it's gonna be a tough game. Both of these teams coming off of byes. So it's like the Super Bowl almost, like basically 2 weeks since the Eagles have played, not especially that they're Monday night. So, but on the road, it's just tough, man. I think the Eagles definitely have a chance to win. I can see the Eagles finding a way to win, but I hate picking against the Eagles because they're my team. But I think the Chiefs honestly do find a way to win this game. I think it just simply comes down to, what is the Chiefs' biggest strength? Well, they have Patrick Mahomes, the biggest strength in the football league. Like, and then what are the Eagles' biggest weakness? Our secondary, which has been damn near the worst in the football league. So it's going to be tough. Patrick Mahomes, I don't know who he's going to throw to, but someone's going to be able to catch the ball against this Eagles secondary if pressure doesn't get to him. You'll probably see a lot of Travis Kelce. I know he's been quiet the last couple weeks. He's going to make some noise this week against the Eagles. Any pass catch he does, if they don't get home and find pressure. James Bradbury has been, not looking the best. Injuries have killed us in the secondary. We got undrafted rookies and, Eli Ricks and fourth, I think, later round pick, Keely Ringo, two rookies in there playing. Bayard still trying to get his feet underneath him. So it's going to be tough for this Eagles team. The only thing I can hope for is, our strength has to be better than their strength. And that means, the Eagles offense has to be better than the Chiefs defense. And if that's the case, and if the Eagles can put up some points and that offense can get going, Jalen Hurts plays clean football, limits his turnovers, and we find a way to get a lead, and then that defense can that D line can pin their ears back, just rush Patrick Mahomes, and take some stress off that secondary. Then I definitely see that being a recipe for success. That Chiefs defense is just really good. You saw what they did to the Dolphins, excuse me, a couple weeks ago. I think that defense is going to be able to find a couple stops on the Eagles. I just don't see how the Eagles find a couple stops on Patrick Mahomes, regardless of who he's throwing to. He's just the best quarterback in the league, and I think he can do enough. He finds ways, and he'll get guys the ball, and they'll be open against his Eagles secondary. So I think it'll be a good game. I think it'll be a close game, but I just ultimately think it comes down to Patrick Mahomes making one or two big plays down the stretch. Maybe, just guys getting beat. James Bradbury turned around once again. You saw what CeeDee Lamb did to him all last week. So it's going to be tough. Coverage hasn't been the best in Philadelphia. And I think that comes back to bite us, and Chiefs will win a close one.
Yeah, man. I think you did, all the analyzation needed. I think I'm just gonna go in with the Pat Mahomes been wearing the same red underwear since his rookie year in the NFL. So dude's clearly got a superstition. Clearly, he's been working for him. I do think it's going to be a really, really close game, man. I think it's going to come down to, who could get that stop. You mentioned that Eagles secondary and everything. The Chiefs uh, seems like, after a rough, patchy, slow start, not really rough, slow, patchy, I think is the word to go with early on in the year. They're the same old Chiefs: Andy Reid, Travis Kelce, Patrick Mahomes. I mean, that's the three-headed, goat right there in the NFL currently. They're getting it done, man. At home, if this was in Philly, maybe a different story. I still think it's going to be a close game. Good matchup, good primetime game, Monday Night Football. It's definitely one you want to tune in and watch too. But give me the Chiefs at home, man. It's going to be a good one for sure.
I don't think these are the same old Chiefs. I just think their defense is just so
No.
much better because it used to always be, Mahomes and that offense and the defense just be good enough. Now it's the defense is very good, and Mahomes and the offense just has to be good enough. Well, when you ask Patrick Mahomes to be good enough, sooner or later he's going to be. the best quarterback in the league
Great.
like he is. And yeah, good enough turns into great, insane plays. So I think that's going to be the difference. But there's definitely a way for the Eagles to win. I'm just, not trying to psych myself up and get on that side of the Eagles winning when they ultimately do lose. But there's definitely hope. If Jalen Hurts and AJ Brown, if they get going, that run game, Swift has been super, super productive. Kenny Gainwell has also been good too, awesome in pass protection. And that O line is definitely going to give us some time. So Dallas Goedert not being there, like I mentioned earlier, definitely hurts. He's one of the best tight ends in the league, a really, really good weapon for us who's started to get going. Got injured on, I think, a big pass play, like a 20-yard run after catch pass play. So it'll be tough not having him, but you still got Smitty, still got AJ Brown. Quez Watkins might be back, but Julio's in there. Their receiver doesn't really matter. You just need a reliable guy. And behind this O line, like I mentioned, the only way the Eagles win this game is if it's a shootout or they just flood the Chiefs like off rip, and this defense from the Chiefs doesn't show up, which is a possibility. But if it's a close game at all, or if the defense like has to step up and make a play, if it's not any of the guys on the D line, I just don't think it's happening. Not this season. So it'll be tough against Mahomes, the best quarterback, and I think he'll find a way against this, weaker secondary.
No doubt,
Unfortunately,
man. It's gonna wrap up week 11 pick'ems, man. It's gonna wrap up episode 65. Any last comments you got before we head out?
yeah, I got something for you real quick, man. How about Bam? He's been hooping, dog.
I mean, bro, Bam
Him
has been
and
hooping.
Jaquez.
Yeah, Jaquez has been hooping. Duncan's been hooping. Um, with Bam, it's always been, can that scoring show up in the playoffs when defenses really anchored down? Can Bam be aggressive? Can he be the same regular season Bam? Bam's been hooping. He's been scoring. Obviously, defensively, rebounds. He's always been phenomenal at that. But I really want to see, when we get to that late in the season, when we get to the playoffs,
Can you rely
hopefully,
on him?
yeah, can he get it done in the post? Two different type of games. And then sometimes, he's non-existent in those playoff games. Is he gonna be, you know, can he be Joel Embiid reliable? Their game's not similar, but can he be that big man that he
I
need
don't
to
know
get a
if those are
bucket?
two words you want to put together. Embiid
I
and
mean,
reliable.
like Embiid isn't reliable, but
On the
like
court when he's playing. Yeah.
yes, yes.
Okay.
There you go. But yeah, it's basically um, it's really gonna come down to that late in the season playoffs. When then defenses really lock in and they're locked in for every single possession. Can Bam keep doing it? Duncan Robinson, I mean, we saw last postseason him taking dudes off the dribble. Love it. Jaquez, I mean, great rookie, wing defender. He's made some big plays. He scored like 20 the other night. Loving that.
And you get
Hero
Martin
Dennis.
back too.
What's
Martin will
up?
come back.
Caleb Martin coming
Martin,
back.
yeah.
Yep. I think they're playing right now. So I mean, I'll probably turn it on after this. But I mean, it's looking good. Don't want to get too high as early on in the season, man. I
Yeah,
mean,
we'll
we haven't
definitely
even
talk more hoops in the couple coming weeks.
yeah,
Yeah.
we haven't even hit Christmas time when them hoops start heating up, man, with them Christmas Day games, bro. That the vibes. But I mean, I like what I'm seeing from them so far. They really need a true point guard. Lowry, he's out there, but they got Jay Rich running the one sometimes. It's tough, man. They really got no PG out there. But Jay
Yeah.
Rich, I think he's finally back. He played last game or he's back
Mm-hmm.
this game, one of the two. But I mean, go Heats, man. It's hopefully they get back to where they were once again.
Yeah, Bam's been balling the past couple games. I just wanted to bring that up, see where your mind was at on Bam real quick.
I mean, I've never been a hater on Bam. And even in the playoffs when we needed a bucket and Jimmy was dead tired and people were like, don't give it to Bam. It's like, who else are you going to give it to, man? Tell Bam to go get a
That's
bucket, bro.
true. Facts.
Sometimes you just got to be aggressive. But, I mean, he's still, under 30. He's still, young. I mean, I think
Hitting
he's
his
like
prime, yeah.
27. Yeah. Regardless of the fact, man. I mean, he's been doing his thing. Uh, Want to see what the Heat do rest of the season, man. But if you got nothing else, man, that's gonna wrap up
Pretty much it.
episode 65, man. Go to go pod on TikTok, like, comment, share, go to go. YouTube, Apple, Spotify, all that. Like, comment, sub, hit that share button as well, man. And until next week, man, we'll be back with another episode. Peace.